Why idleness is hell? Is idleness really hell? Greetings, and let me share a story with you. There was a middle-aged man who, after passing away, saw a magnificent palace on his way. The owner of the palace warmly invited him to visit and live there. "I've worked hard all my life on earth, and now I don't want to work anymore. I just want to eat and sleep," the palace owner said. "Oh, so you're lucky. There's no better place in the world than this. Here you can eat whatever you want, sleep as much as you like, and you don't have to do anything else." Hearing this, the middle-aged man happily stayed. Initially, the middle-aged man felt very comfortable and delighted, but after a few years, he began to complain that every day he had only two things to do: eat or sleep. Eating without working and sleeping without waking up became too monotonous for him. He asked the palace owner to give him some work, but the owner replied that there was no work here. After a few months, the middle-aged man couldn't bear it anymore. He went to see the palace owner and said, "I really can't stand this kind of life anymore. If you don't arrange some work for me, I'd rather go to hell and suffer. I don't want to live here anymore." The palace owner burst into laughter and said, "You think this is paradise? No, this is hell. Do you still want to go to heaven?" Hearing this, the middle-aged man was so surprised that he couldn't speak. Indeed, humans can't just live comfortably. They also need to strive and make efforts. It's not just about living at ease, but also about enriching themselves through hard work. Giving up those comfortable thoughts is how we become more diligent and gradually increase our inner value. Working is a responsibility to oneself, and it's the smartest way to live in life. Everyone wants to do less and enjoy more, have an easy job with a high salary, and even those who are very wealthy still dream of a carefree life. Even if you're not rich, it's okay to be a little poorer, but the ancestors have a saying, "Idleness leads to mischief," and it's true. Being idle all the time can lead to trouble in the long run. Today, let's discuss the philosophy of life related to idleness and what consequences it can bring. Please listen carefully. The first consequence is that too much idleness can make you vulnerable to deception. I'm almost 80 years old this year, and my children call me whenever they want, but I still light incense and pray to my ancestors every day. It's all because I've seen my daughter and my grandchildren. My daughter and her husband struggled for many years to have a child. My grandchildren looked just like my son-in-law, which relieved my worries. My daughter and her husband had a hard time getting married. They ran around everywhere, seeking treatment for their infertility for 10 years. Finally, they had a daughter who looks just like her father, but her appearance is ordinary. My wife and I spoiled her a lot, taking care of her from a young age. She didn't have to do anything. She only had to focus on her studies. Besides her study time, she had plenty of free time. My daughter and her husband were strict about who she could be friends with and limited her social circle to girls from our neighborhood. From a young age until she finished college, she only went from home to school and occasionally to her girlfriend's house. She never had a chance to go out and socialize with others. We hoped to protect her, but in the end, we pushed her into this situation. Dear ones, there is an old saying, idleness leads to wrongdoing. When you're always free, you can get into trouble sooner or later. My daughter grew up in this sheltered environment. My wife and I did everything for her. She didn't have to do anything other than study, but now she's in her 30s and still doesn't have a boyfriend. I work as a skilled mechanic and my business was doing well. After many years, I saved enough money to buy a piece of land on a busy street and had a considerable amount of money in savings to support my daughter's education. She graduated and got a job at a foreign company. However, because she doesn't look very attractive even though she's over 30, she still doesn't have a boyfriend. I work hard every day, and when I come home, my daughter is often idle. She spends time playing with her pets and going to coffee shops with her friends. Fate took a turn when my daughter's company sent her on a business trip. Upon her return, she invited everyone to our house. Normally, she didn't talk much and dressed modestly. So when people entered our house and saw her family situation, especially the young driver who had driven her before, they were surprised. The young driver was good-looking and younger than my daughter by 6 years. He was also good with words. My wife and I were pleased that our daughter had a boyfriend, even though she was 33 years old. However, when our daughter brought her boyfriend home, both my wife and I were shocked. It turned out that the young driver was her boyfriend. They had been together like a couple for a while, and because he was so handsome and young, my daughter introduced him as her boyfriend. My wife and I were very uneasy because he never looked directly at the person he was talking to and kept avoiding eye contact, despite all our advice. My daughter insisted on marrying him because she believed he loved her wholeheartedly and doted on her. My daughter had been isolated from her friends and social activities for so long that she didn't have much experience with relationships or socializing. She only had a few female friends from our neighborhood that she occasionally hung out with. Destiny took its course in my daughter's life when she joined the company. She overheard her husband talking to his lover on the phone about buying a house and finding an excuse to divorce his wife. My daughter thought he was referring to her because she was plain and unattractive. She was devastated. A few days later, her husband filed for divorce, citing her age and unattractive appearance as reasons. My daughter, who was already 33, felt betrayed. Her husband had lied to her before they got married, making her believe that he loved her. My daughter became depressed and spent a week locked in her room, alternating between crying and laughing. My husband, who had been taking care of the house, fell ill. He had high blood pressure and suffered a stroke, requiring emergency medical attention one night. My daughter was severely depressed, locking herself in her room for weeks, alternating between crying and laughing. I had to take care of my husband, my daughter, and the house. I couldn't manage everything alone, so I had to ask my friends for help. I took care of my husband, fed him, and went to work to earn money. But when I returned home, my daughter was still locked in her room. She wouldn't eat, drink, or talk to anyone. She kept her doors and windows closed. I couldn't bear it any longer and broke down, thinking I would lose both my husband and daughter. I went to my daughter's room and begged her to open the door. When she opened it, I saw a lot of empty wine bottles and the odor of alcohol. I tried to persuade her to eat, but she refused. My daughter was thin and weak. I asked her if she wanted to die, and she nodded her head. I begged her not to do that and promised to take her to see a doctor. She agreed to go, and I was overjoyed. We went to the hospital, and the doctor prescribed some medication for her depression. I had to keep a close eye on her and make sure she took the medicine regularly. Slowly, she began to recover, and I also took her to see a psychiatrist. After a few months of treatment, my daughter began to change. She started talking to her friends again and even went out to socialize. She realized that there was more to life than just work. If she had continued to live the same way as before, she might have fallen into a deeper abyss. In her isolation, she'd almost been deceived by a man who only cared about her appearance and money. It was a painful lesson for her. My daughter eventually met a good man who truly loved her for who she was, and they got married. Now they have a happy family with 2 children. She realized that idleness could lead to vulnerability and deception. The second consequence of idleness is that it can lead to mental and physical health problems. People who are idle all the time tend to become lethargic and lazy. They lack the motivation to do anything productive and often resort to activities that are harmful to their health, such as overeating, drinking excessively, or using drugs. This can lead to obesity, addiction, and various health issues. Moreover, idleness can also have a negative impact on mental health. When people have too much free time and nothing meaningful to do, they may start to feel bored, lonely, and even depressed. Their minds can become a breeding ground for negative thoughts and anxiety. I have a friend who retired from his job at the age of 60. He was excited about finally having all the free time he wanted and planned to enjoy his retirement to the fullest. However, within a year of retiring, he started experiencing health problems. He gained a significant amount of weight, developed high blood pressure, and began feeling depressed. He was used to the structure and routine of his job, and without it, he felt lost and purposeless. He also missed the social interaction he had with his colleagues at work. Eventually, his doctor told him that his health issues were largely due to his sedentary lifestyle and lack of mental stimulation. My friend realized that he needed to find a new purpose in life and stay active both physically and mentally. He started volunteering at a local organization, taking up a hobby and spending more time with his family and friends. Over time, his health improved, and he felt happier and more fulfilled. This experience taught him the importance of staying engaged and active, even in retirement. It's essential to keep both the body and mind active to maintain good health and well-being. The third consequence of idleness is that it can lead to a lack of personal growth and development. When people are idle, they miss out on opportunities to learn, acquire new skills, and grow as individuals. Personal growth often comes from facing challenges, setting goals, and pushing oneself to achieve them. However, when someone is idle and avoids challenges, they remain stagnant and don't reach their full potential. In contrast, those who embrace challenges and stay motivated to improve themselves are more likely to achieve success and personal fulfillment. I've seen many young people who have great potential but choose to lead idle lives. They might have talent and intelligence, but they waste their time on trivial pursuits or procrastinate on their goals. As a result, they miss out on opportunities for personal and professional growth. It's essential for young people to understand that life is a journey of continuous learning and self-improvement. Embracing challenges and staying motivated to achieve their dreams will lead to a more fulfilling and successful life. In conclusion, idleness can indeed lead to various negative consequences, including vulnerability to deception, mental and physical health problems, and a lack of personal growth and development. It's essential to strike a balance between rest and work, leisure and productivity. While relaxation and downtime are essential for well-being, excessive idleness can have detrimental effects on one's life. It's crucial to stay engaged, set goals, and continue learning and growing throughout life. Remember, idleness may seem like paradise at first, but it can quickly turn into hell if not managed wisely. So keep yourself active, motivated, and always open to new opportunities for growth and fulfillment in life. The crime of neglecting physical activity gradually made Lon become overweight and unattractive in appearance, both ugly and bored with life. Despite being a high-ranking executive, no young man paid attention to her. One day, when she went to the doctor, the physician told her that she had an excessive amount of uric acid, leading to frequent joint pains and sleepless nights. After studying abroad for several years, Lon returned, and no one could recognize the graceful and charming woman she used to be. She had thought that having an easy job would be like a fairy tale, but it turned out to be quite the opposite. Lon had almost become a useless person, lacking knowledge, experience, and good health. To make matters worse, she felt lonely without a romantic partner, and her colleagues started avoiding her. Then, one day, she received shocking news that her father had been charged with corruption and sentenced to prison. It felt like her world had crumbled. Her only refuge, the biggest and only umbrella she had, was taken away. Everyone at work saw her true self, and they stopped talking behind her back, confronting her directly. Even her boss changed his attitude, constantly assigning high-intensity tasks to her, although she had never worked before. Lon was lost, not knowing how to cope. She received a letter of dismissal because she couldn't meet job requirements, and with no one to support her, she had to leave her job. Lon could only cry in despair, thinking about her failed life and the bleak future ahead. In this world, those who have enough to eat without working are truly fortunate. However, excessive idleness can lead to many negative consequences, both physically and mentally.